This is a fairly inexpensive bike from Amazon, a brand called Cycle-On. No, I've never heard of it before, but I got my hands on one, figured I might as well throw it on a dyno and see how much power it actually produces. It's got a 48 volt, 10 amp hour battery. In the back here, this is supposedly a 750 watt motor. They also say it's got 75 Newton meters of torque, but we're gonna find out for real what that wheel actually puts down to the ground. So in a second here, I'll hit the start button. On the left-hand side here is the power in kilowatts. If we actually get 750 watts, this should say 0.75. The foot-pounds of torque is in the middle here. I'm not expecting anywhere near 75 for this because that is the torque rating for the motor at the axle. Usually what we're seeing on other bikes is anywhere from like a quarter, well, maybe not as low as a quarter, but a third maybe, or a little less than half of the rated torque is what we actually get to the ground. So with 75, my guess is we get somewhere around 25, but we'll see what happens. And the third box right here is the speed in miles per hour of the rear wheel. Always keep in mind that's not a realistic speed for being on the road because we have no aerodynamic drag and no weight from actually moving forward. So that's gonna be faster or higher than what you'd actually get if you're sitting on the bike riding it. The battery is fully charged. It's a 48 volt, like I said. We're at 54 volts, and the rear tire is pumped up to the max of 20 PSI. Let's hit the start button. I don't know if the assist settings make any difference to the power, so I've got turned all the way up, and let's just give it full throttle in 3, 2, 1. We'll run it all the way through the power range. We know it's not limited to 20 miles an hour, that's for sure. I think we're getting close to, and that's it, that's all it's got. One thing I have noticed, or I've been able to check when I put bikes on here, is that I have the speedometer reading on the display, and because I know the actual ground speed from the drum, we know if the speedometer is accurate, and this one is spot on. So let's hit the stop button, and this is gonna tell us, oh, and something went wrong. I've never had this happen. I'm gonna have to do another run, because it says max 59 foot-pounds of torque, and it did nowhere near that. I think we have an anomaly of some sort in this test. We're gonna have to run this again. I wanna see what happened here though. So this is an actual run. That's the realistic number. We're getting 18 foot-pounds over here. We got, again, 18 foot-pounds. And then there's this random spike over here. It looks like when I got off the bike, I must have bumped the wheel or something, and it read all of a sudden 59 foot-pounds. So that is definitely not correct. We're gonna delete that. New run, let's get the actual number. So it was around 18.8, but I need an accurate chart for science. There we go, I saw 18, oh, 19, 20? Okay. That looked accurate. Stop, there we go. I had to go back and review the footage a little bit and just verify what the numbers were. That 900 some watts at the beginning definitely was an anomaly, so I had to throw that run out. These are the official numbers, and where did it end up? Our list is starting to build up here. And the Amazon Cycle-On, this is the Rad City 4, the Rad Rover 6 Plus, the Rad Rover 5, well, it's going to push those down a little bit and end up right here above the Rad Power bikes and just below the Mach Wheel Basalt. Definitely a big gap between those two bikes. We're going from 20 foot-pounds of torque up to 28. The Rad Power bikes were basically the same, the fat tire bikes on the foot-pounds right around 20, but the Amazon bike had just a little bit higher wattage. So now let's take a look at the chart and see what that power curve is like. So the red line right here is the torque. We see that go up nice and quick. This is really typical of every electric bike motor we've tested so far. Get torque early on, and then it fades gradually down all the way to the end. The wattage, honestly, I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen some bikes spike up very quickly and then slowly taper down. I've seen some that are more gradual, like this one. They hold the power for a while and then have a bit of a slope. Occasionally, I even have one that holds this basically all the way out to the very end of the run, and then suddenly it drops off very rapidly. So this one holds the power. We're getting right around that, see there's 0.75 right at this peak, so that's 750 watts, and it's holding it there as that wheel is accelerating up. And then when it gets later in the run, you see here it starts to fade off and eventually goes down to nothing when there's no torque, there's no power left. And the last thing I want to check is what is about 20 foot-pounds of torque in Newton meters, and that is 27. So my guess at the beginning of this was pretty close. They rate the motor as 75 Newton meters of torque. Presumably though, that is at the axle. The further away you go from that, the less torque you're going to get. My guess was 25, and we got 27. And just as a comparison, the most powerful e-bike we've put on here so far was the Biketrix XD. It's sitting at the top of the chart with about 63 foot-pounds of torque, which, yes, is more than 3 times as much, but it also costs more than 3 times as much as this bike did from Amazon. If you want to see more of these dyno test results, how they compare to other bikes that we've already tested, you can find those at area13ebikes.com/dyno. Now, it's taking me a little more time to edit and compile all of this information from these 3 rad power bikes because I not only tested them stock, but I also tested them with a whole bunch of upgrades. Motor controllers, motors, complete motor kits, 52-volt batteries, and I documented what each one of those changes did. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see that video because I'm working on it right now and it'll be coming out very soon.